Before we dive into this unbelievable story where a simple cleaner girl saved $1 billion company and ended up becoming the CEO's bride, make sure you hit that subscribe button to Scape because we bring you the most shocking, emotional, and life-changing stories you'll ever hear, stories that remind you anything is possible when you believe in yourself. The sky over the towering glass headquarters of Ellison Tech was dark and gloomy, a perfect reflection of the company's situation because what once was one of the fastest-growing tech giants in the world was now crumbling from the inside out. Shares were falling, employees were panicking, investors were pulling out, and at the very top of the empire sat its young CEO, Adrian Cole, a man in his early 30s who had inherited his father's legacy but now felt the crushing weight of failure on his shoulders. He sat in his corner office staring at numbers on the giant screen while his most trusted executives argued about downsizing, cutting staff, and even declaring bankruptcy, but all their words blended into meaningless noise as Adrian thought of how far the company had fallen in just 6 months after a competitor launched a revolutionary AI product that wiped out Ellison Tech's market share, leaving Adrian with the shame of headlines branding him the failing son of a legend. Nobody noticed the cleaner girl moving quietly at the back of the room, sweeping the marble floor and emptying bins, because in their eyes she was invisible, just a uniform, just background, just a low-wage worker with no importance to billion-dollar decisions. But that girl, whose name was Clara, had eyes sharper than any analyst, a mind more observant than any consultant, and a determination forged from years of surviving hardship after losing her parents young and having to quit school to support her siblings. She worked nights cleaning offices, but she also secretly loved learning. She devoured books left on desks, took online courses using borrowed library Wi-Fi, and built a quiet arsenal of knowledge in business, economics, and coding. Yet no one in the skyscraper would ever think a janitor had the mind of a strategist. Until that one moment where fate flipped everything upside down. Because as Adrian buried his face in his hands and declared that he had no solution, Clara, trembling but compelled by a force she couldn't explain, suddenly spoke up, her voice cutting through the boardroom noise. "Excuse me, but I think you're all looking at this the wrong way," she said, and the entire room went silent. Executives stared at her like she had lost her mind. Some even laughed, asking, who let the cleaner in on this meeting? But Adrian, desperate and broken, lifted his head and asked gently, "What do you mean?" Giving her the courage to step closer to the glowing screen and point at their falling metrics, she explained how she had noticed the patterns in customer complaints while cleaning their reports, how people didn't want another competing product, they wanted integration, simplicity, and personalization, something no company was giving yet, and she outlined an idea so bold it left the executives speechless. A universal AI assistant that could adapt itself to the unique lifestyle of each user, blending seamlessly with devices, cars, even smart homes. But more importantly, she explained how to monetize it through subscription layers and microtransactions rather than relying solely on hardware sales. Her words were fast, passionate, yet incredibly logical, and though the executives mocked her, calling it naive, impossible, childish, Adrian's eyes lit up for the first time in months because he saw not just numbers but vision, and he trusted his instinct that this cleaner girl wasn't ordinary. So he asked her to draft a concept, much to the dismay of his board who stormed out in protest. But Clara stayed late into the night sketching out wireframes on scrap paper and coding a prototype on an old laptop she had bought secondhand. And when Adrian saw it the next morning, he realized she had single-handedly done what his entire R&D department had failed to do in 6 months. So he poured the last of the company's resources into her plan, secretly working side by side with her. And soon the two formed a bond not just of work but of unspoken trust and admiration. Because while Adrian was a billionaire by birth, Clara was rich in resilience and creativity, and together they made a perfect team. But challenges came fast. Investors threatened to sue, the media called Adrian reckless for betting on a janitor's idea, rivals tried to sabotage their launch, and Clara even faced bullying from executives who resented her rise. Yet she never backed down. And in one unforgettable moment during a live investor meeting, when a hostile shareholder accused her of being just a cleaning lady playing business, Clara smiled, snapped her fingers, and revealed a live demo of the AI assistant integrating flawlessly across devices, wowing the audience and silencing critics in an instant. That snap became legendary, a symbol of defiance and innovation, and within weeks the product launched, spreading like wildfire across the globe. Subscriptions poured in, Stock prices skyrocketed, and in less than a year Ellison Tech was not just saved but crowned the undisputed leader of the tech industry, valued at over $1 billion more than its rival, and the credit went not to the board, not to analysts, but to the girl who once scrubbed floors, Clara, who went from invisible cleaner to the architect of success. And though Adrian could have taken the spotlight, he did the unthinkable. He gave her the stage, introducing her as the true savior of Ellison Tech, and in that moment the world saw her not as a janitor but as a genius. Reporters chased her, magazines put her on covers, but through it all she remained humble, still sending money home to support her siblings and still sneaking into libraries to learn more, until one evening, after celebrating their $1 billion valuation, Adrian stood with Clara on the rooftop of the skyscraper under the city lights, telling her how she had not only saved his company but also saved him from despair, and he pulled out a small velvet box, shocking her into silence, as he got on one knee and asked her to marry him, declaring he didn't care about social status, wealth, or background, because he had fallen in love with her heart, her mind, her courage, and Clara, overwhelmed with emotion, tears streaming down her cheeks, whispered, "Yes," as the skyline erupted in fireworks celebrating the company's success, a perfect metaphor for the explosion of hope and love in their lives. But even then, their story didn't end, because new challenges awaited them: envy, betrayal from insiders, rival corporations plotting revenge. But Clara and Adrian faced it all together, proving that greatness isn't born from privilege but from daring to believe when no one else does. And as the world repeated the legend of the cleaner girl who snapped her fingers and earned $1 billion, Clara herself smiled privately, knowing her journey wasn't just about money or titles but about rewriting destiny with courage. And so her story became one that inspired millions around the globe, a reminder that no one is ever truly invisible, that genius can be hidden in the most unexpected places, and that sometimes the person you overlook is the very one who can change the world forever. FGHGF.